Rebel on its own is like you said, just, giving it to the man, any man.
Right.
And a creative rebel can be where you kind of stand up. I see a lot of musicians do it, where they stand up and they go, no, I'm going to do it my way. Mm-hmm. You can screw off now. If you speak your truth and you stand in what you feel you are, no matter what anybody says, you're a creative rebel. We're back.
My name's Peyton.
I'm Leah.
And welcome to Beyond the Scene, where we talk about frequency and truth and alignment through the lens of
Fashion,
art,
and music.
And a little bit of woo-woo.
Lots of woo-woo.
There's our intro. All right. So in the first episode, what we talked about frequency, like a lot, like how we define frequency, how we define resonance, how that shows up in our lives and our stories, and more specifically in our creative endeavors.
Right.
And your background is in music. You're now in fashion as a stylist. Interestingly enough, still in the music industry, like you're styling musicians.
I'll forever and ever be in the music industry.
Yeah.
It runs through my veins.
I love that.
It saved my life.
It saved your life.
Literally.
It's interesting. This topic for this podcast is creative rebels. Mm-hmm. And I think that the word rebel for me is interesting. So again, let's start with what does creative rebel mean to you?
To me, a rebel, so just to take it back, so I was raised in a cult, wasn't allowed to listen to worldly music or have worldly fashion or celebrate any kind of worldly holidays. And I would go down to this little record store in my town and listen to punk rock music.
Your parents did not know you were doing that?
No. Absolutely not.
Because you would have been
discommunicated.
And you eventually did get discommunicated.
Yes, ma'am.
At like 14.
Yes, ma'am.
It was like...
I got discommunicated several times. But I think it was the last time where they had had enough.
Yeah.
And packed my stuff up and said, you're going to go ahead, live your life out there in the world. So, but the music that made me feel the most was punk rock music. And I think because inside me a rebel lived and I didn't know how to express that and couldn't express that. The way that I can only explain it is I was one of those really tight springs and they were just holding it here. And then the minute that the pressure was released, I flew into the universe.
Yeah.
And punk rock music was my engine.
So the definition of rebel for you, and I think it would be for me too, is like going against the status quo.
I think it's going against the status quo and also being true to yourself.
Well, that would be the best kind of rebel, but I think there are a lot of rebels out there who rebel just to go against the status quo. Although,
when you don't know what your truth is, I think you just want to rebel because you're physically feeling like I physically knew that something at the age of 10. I knew it was a lie.
Yeah.
At the age of 10, I realized these people are full of shit. I don't know how to regulate these feelings. I don't know how to process what's happening. I don't know how to say no. I don't know what my truth is because I'd been fed poison my whole life.
You just knew that wasn't truth.
Didn't feel right.
Yeah, I don't know what my truth is, but I know that that's not it.
Right. And so I wanted to rebel against everything. Mm-hmm. If you said green, I said red. I didn't give a shit. I just wanted to make a point that I could live and have power on my own.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's interesting because like when I'm thinking of creative rebel, it's like, okay, in that particular moment in your life as a kid, leaving at 14, leaving everything they knew behind because you knew it wasn't right for you, even though you weren't really sure what was right. The creative aspect for you at that time was, now I'm going to go create my life.
Was painting my nails.
Right.
You know what I mean? Wearing the outfits I wanted to wear. That was creative to me.
I was going to say, like, your concept of creativity was very different than what your concept of creativity is now.
I went from, the analogy I can give is The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy's in black and white. She opens the door and there's frickin' little people and it's all color. That is what happened to me. Yeah. I went, whoa, like it blew my mind. So I think the rebel on its own is like you said, just, giving it to the man, any man.
Right.
And a creative rebel can be where you kind of stand up. I see a lot of musicians do it, where they stand up and they go, no, I'm going to do it my way. You can screw off now. I'm going to go ahead and do this. And you said you had that feeling when you went into the art community, where you stood up finally and said no.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't as dramatic as I think the lens through which you have lived is very dramatic. More so, maybe you don't think it's dramatic because you lived it.
Rebellion.
I don't, right. I'm like, you're sitting here talking. I'm like, okay, so when as a kid did I rebel? I've got to tell this story, right? Yeah. So I was little, like maybe 7, 8 years old, and a very bright kid in a very dysfunctional family. Lots of love, lots of dysfunction. And my parents cussed, but I wasn't allowed to. And I'm like, that's bullshit. How are you guys allowed to go around and say these words, but I'm not? And so I knew I was too afraid to get in trouble.
Did you write them down?
I was unlike you. Like you were like, I don't care if I get in trouble. I was too afraid to get in trouble. Right. So instead of saying shit, I got mad and I knew this was an okay, acceptable word. I said turd.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And my dad said, what did you say? And I said, turd. And he sat me down. He said, do you know what that means? And I'm like, yeah, like it means shit, but I can't say shit. Yeah. I can only say turd. This is what I'm thinking in my head. But I think this whole like 7, 8 years old, I think at that time that was like me, like maybe testing the waters,
Sure.
of like, what can I get away with and what can I can't? However, I was like your typical like firstborn daughter. I was like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Like I'm going to succeed. And like, you think I'm smart, so I'm going to be smart, like, and also that was like my survival mechanism was like just, my dad was awesome. He was also very emotionally labile because of his own trauma and because of, he got diabetes when he was 7. So literally his blood sugars were a roller coaster and his emotions followed. So I was the kind of like keep the peace person,
right.
In the house, unless I was like, I'm going to rebel by saying turd.
I think we all have that. Like we have it in human nature. We have it in us. I wasn't allowed to celebrate any holidays. Right? Oh, yeah. No holidays, no birthdays. Didn't know how old I was ever. I think I still have a problem with my age. Like, how old am I really? I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was a point where I stole a costume from my friend. She was a cheerleader. I took her outfit and snuck it to school on Halloween and changed and then like tried to participate in Halloween. Oh. And the goddamn teachers called my mom.
Oh my God.
Told on me. And it was like a big thing. It was all full, like shame and, but I tried to rebel as a 7, 8 year. I think that's when we recognize that there's constraints.
Things aren't quite what they seem.
Constraint. Yeah. I'm being constrained. Something feels weird. And I think that we have that in us. And as we get older, if we're not conditioned too much, we can break free.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of like the creative rebel. I'm trying to tie it back into like fashion, art, music.
Yeah.
There are some outstanding rebels in the creative scene. David Bowie, and who, transcended genders with his stage presence.
Right.
Freddie Mercury.
Right.
Like even Dolly Parton. Mm-hmm. She was a creative rebel, in her own way.
Right.
And I feel like even Emily Ann, who I work with now, if you speak your truth and you stand in what you feel you are, no matter what anybody says, you're a creative rebel.
Yeah.
She may not have tattoos and dye her hair or cuss, but because she speaks her truth, and is aligned with her truth, she's a rebel. Yeah. She's a creative rebel.
When, I can speak for myself, like, so creatively, artistically, like I didn't really get into the arts until 6 years ago. So I was definitely on the like intellectual path, the sciences.
Were you an intellectual rebel?
I would do things like, I'm trying to think of like, how was I a rebel?
Did you ever flip tables in the cafeteria?
No, but you know what I did? This is going to sound so silly, but I was working in a cardiology practice, really great people, but it's a serious practice, right? Like, it's
life or death.
It's life or death.
Yeah.
But in the office, I was like, we have got to do something to shake things up, man. This is like, it's just the same thing every day, unless it's a tragedy. It's like, it's the same thing every day on a good day. And then if it's not a good day, it's because like somebody in the exam room next door just like passed out. Like we're calling, whatever. I'm like, but I gotta do something different. So my idea of being a creative rebel up until I left medicine altogether and then just launched on this journey was, how can I invite a little like mischief, into the day? So I decided to have a Christmas costume party.
Love that.
But the office was divided into pods, pod 1, pod 2, pod 3. And I decided to make it a competition between the pods. So, and I wrote up this whole thing. I sent it out. We're talking.
It was on a memo. It was official.
It was on a memo.
Letterhead.
It went I dropped it off and I walked over to every pod and I was like, it's on, bitches, like in so many words, all the physicians, I was like, holiday Christmas party contest. Go for it, and everybody had so much fun. They're like, oh, which pod's going to win,
Yeah.
And I made it really fun. But other than that, like, I think even when I got into the creative practice of painting, I was very much trying to try on other people's ways of doing it.
I think we do that.
Yeah, until I realized that wasn't going to work for me, like, and in the art world, it's like I'm a painter.
Right.
It's like you paint in a certain way, you create a collection, you get picked up by a gallery, you sell the collection, that's how you make money.
Right.
Or the other option would be a lot of artists make a lot of money and make a living, doing prints,
Right.
painting something, and then they have this whole print shop, and so in my mind, or like in my experience, it was like, well, that's how you make a career out of being an artist.
Right.
It's you pick a lane and go with it. I was in a coaching program once, and there was this guy named Steve who every morning would have this video conference thing where he little bits of knowledge. And he would start off, he'd be like, good morning, coaches. And this is what I'm going to say today. And one of the things he said was, niche rhymes with quiche, and quiche belongs in France. And I'm like,
sick one. I like that.
Sick one. I'm like, ooh, I like that. I'm like, here I am. Like all the business people are like, niche down, niche until it hurts. You got to find your niche. You got to find your lane. You got to pick a lane and go with it. And that was not working for me.
Because it's not your truth.
Because it's not my truth. I mean, my truth is I am a manifesting generator. I have lots of different things going at once. I might start something and be all in, and halfway through it, I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm complete with that. And
Same.
I need freedom. You're a manifesting generator.
Totally.
I need freedom to move around under the umbrella of not even art, under the umbrella of being creative. Because like this podcast for me is like giving me life, it is the way that I can creatively express myself now. It has nothing to do with painting.
Do you feel that even with, so I will misstep a lot, but in the misstep, I find the truth. I find 100%. The way that I need to be going. Like I will misstep, I will fall, I will fail, I will be rejected. I will be like, oh, whoa, that did not work out. That kind of hurt. I don't think I wanted, but then I kind of stumble into where I need to be, like my actual path.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I was really, as I was transitioning out of the old way of being, which was kind of like societal norms, medicine, all that kind of stuff, and into this artistic space of being a creative and being an artist, there were paintings that I made that were utter shit. I mean, I knew they were bad. They were bad. And in the beginning, I would take that as this is all an internal dialogue, right? I would take that as a failure.
Right.
Right. I'm like, I have failed. I suck. I'm terrible. Like, I can't believe I made this piece of crap.
Yeah.
What am I even doing with my life? And I had a great coach at the time, Erin Anderson, and she's like, Peyton, what if it's not a failure? What if it's just a learning experience?
What if it's a lesson?
And it's just a lesson.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
What did you learn? And those subtle mindset shifts.
This doesn't work.
Those subtle mindset shifts were so important, at the time. And I had so many people, like really great mentors in my life who would drop those little nuggets in, and so, to answer your question about like missteps or perceived failures, like those are the things that actually showed me what I didn't want to do.
Doesn't that whittle it down though? Like
100%.
It whittles it down to where you can kind of get to the core of like who it is, what it is. And again, I want to create all over the spectrum. I don't care what it is. I just want to create it. I'm a creator. That is what I was meant to do on this earth, is to create things.
Yeah.
And it can be in any form, any shape, anything. I just want to create.
Yeah.
And sometimes it sucks, and sometimes it looks like a piece of dog shit, but I still did it.
Yeah.
I still had the balls to do it.
It's so funny. I've said this so many times. I'm like, don't put me in a box, you know, like, oh, you can't contain me. And I'm like, and then on the other hand, I'm like, can somebody just please show me a box to get in?
I need to get in the box.
I don't know
Put me in the box.
Going.
Yeah.
Where's the box?
Yeah.
You know,
I have those too, where I'm like, for the love of God, can someone just please? And then I blame it on my ADHD or my neurodivergence mind. Like, but I believe that's all part of the process.
Yeah. I think, you know, for me, being a creative rebel has meant leaving behind the traditional way of doing something, the way that they, or whoever they are, the majority of people say, this is how you have to do something to be successful at it, or this is the medicine. This is how you have to practice medicine, business. This is how you have to practice business.
We talked about it this morning.
This is how you have to practice art. Being willing to leave those preset conditions or notions or beliefs behind and really, truly forge my own path, which I have this amazing mentor back in my hometown. His name's Donny Weber. He's a fantastic artist. He's a good human. He was an architect, and he's incredible. And he has followed the traditional art path of, he's in galleries, he paints large bodies of work.
Worked for him.
Yeah, and it works for him. And he taught me so many of the fundamentals. He actually got me switched over from acrylic to oils, and he taught me so many fundamentals about oil painting, about, you know, he saw something in me and was like, come and paint with me in my studio.
Love that.
It was fantastic. And I learned a lot from Donny, and then I just left most of it behind because it wasn't, I'm like, I love doing it and there's so many fundamentals that I still carry with me of what I learned from him, but I just completely went in a different direction. And like, I was willing, I think, to be a creative rebel, you have to be willing to let go of everything you thought you knew.
And
And
your ego.
And your, so much of your ego, and then be willing to take this unknown step forward because you know that that's where your truth is.
When I started to do the fashion, so I had never done that. I've just always dressed fun. I've just always dressed how I want.
Yeah, like I love this because you
had nothing. Had no idea.
People study their entire lives to be in fashion, and you literally are like, one day you're like, I think I'm going to go into fashion.
Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not even kidding.
Rebelling against the system. It's like, but no, you've got to get a degree and you have to go to RISD and like, you know. I
just said one day, this is what I'm going to do. And back to Emily, she was going on tour with Blake Shelton, and I was kind of in between gigs. I had gone off. I had done a winter tour on the East Coast. And I got home and was like, I am too old for this shit. Like, that was brutal. And so that's when in February, Emily goes, oh, I'm going on this tour. We had just wrapped up a music video, and I had taken and styled the whole music video.
For Emily.
And she's like, hey, do you think you can style me for this tour? And I was like, say less, like, let's go shopping. And so it just worked. You know what I mean? Like, it just happened to be a well I had never tapped into just for myself. I always dressed cool. I always had a vibe. You know, I always liked the things that I liked. People always commented on it, but I never thought it could be monetized at all. And not even that, I didn't think it could be expanded upon, you know what I mean? Like, it just was for me. And so I just started dressing her, and I are the farthest away on the spectrum you can get. Emily is clean cut, not clean cut, but
she's I look at her and I'm like, she's pure. Like a young Dolly Parton. She a little bit in the way that she is coming up in the world. Yeah, she is. I'm always inspired by her. She's hardworking. She's girl next door. She has great values. She has her mom and dad still together. She has a husband who's very loyal and faithful and supportive, and his family's still like, they just have a solid foundation, which to me is always like, you know, again, back to that, can you pull from a well that isn't made of trauma? Yeah. And clearly she can, you know? Yeah. So
but it was just it was inspired. It was an inspired moment, similar to how we met, but it was just like, yeah, go ahead and do this. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know. And then I have to compare myself. So I sit in this echo chamber that we call social media, and I'm sitting in comparison to myself. I know my shit's good. I know it is.
Right.
And then there's these women who look like they've just jumped off of frickin', Vogue magazine with their like outfits that are perfection, and it's perfect to society standards, right?
Right.
And I look like this. And I compare.
And you're dressing someone in high kitten heels and flowy, like
beautiful. She looks gorgeous.
Like
don't care what anybody says. She looks gorgeous every single time. And there's some stuff that's kind of a little bit
rocker.
I've taken it a little too far, and I'm like, oh, we need to pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I feel like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm not afraid to tell people that. I'm just having fun with Emily. I'm just dressing her. I'm just making her feel better and be able to put on a show, because I do feel that way too in the entertainment industry. They're not here to just listen to you sing.
Yeah.
They want a show.
Right.
They want to be entertained. They want to connect with you. They want to feel something. And that has to do with your lighting, your sound, your talent, the way you dress, the show you're putting on. It's everything. And it can be as simple as Chris Stapleton, who his production is so simple.
Yeah.
But the way he does it resonates.
Yeah.
So it does. I'm going too deep. I just literally went down. I took a left turn, and I apologize for that.
But part of being a creative rebel is sharing the path, right? This is the path on how you got to where you are.
Yeah.
I mean, and
I don't want people to sit in judgment of themselves.
No, of course not. But what would it have looked like if you hadn't been a creative rebel? You would have said to yourself, I'm in the music industry as this. Right. I can't go into fashion.
If I had not been a rebel, period, I would have been a cult my whole life.
Right. Right.
Still not knowing how old I was.
Right.
And never celebrating Christmas. It would have been really boring.
I wouldn't have had these nails.
They would have missed out on all this. Absolutely. And I think, like I said, I feel like the quote I think that we talked about is, if nobody could see it, would I still do it? Would I still create it? Would you still do it?
I would, yeah.
In a room when no one could share it, never see the light of day?
I would, because it's moved away from, for me, it's moved away from the actual art itself to the experience. And what I realized about my art, I went through all these mentors. I tried the traditional, what I thought was the traditional way to be an artist and to show up in the world as an artist. And it didn't really, it felt empty to me in a lot of ways. And it didn't feel sustainable. And it didn't work,
Right.
like it maybe worked once or twice.
You were back in the operating room.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Essentially.
And so I think, honestly, about this time last year, it was so not working.
I got to sit up straight. Sorry.
That's okay. Are you good? About this time last year, it was so not working that I was really, truly ready to give up on art altogether. I said, okay, I can't do this anymore. It's not, I can't, I have to live. I have to make money. I have to do that, and doing it this way that I've been doing it is not working.
Right.
So I didn't think, okay, well, maybe it's not working because it's not the way that I'm supposed to be doing it. I thought, well, it's not working because its time has just come to an end, right? And I'm unattached, I'm okay, but what am I going to do if I'm not an artist? And so I sat down and I wrote out on separate pieces of paper the professional jobs that I've had. I was a high school biology teacher. I was a yoga instructor. I did cardiac surgery. I did general cardiology, and I was an artist. So I wrote all separate pieces of paper, and I wrote for each job, what did I love about that job? What did I not like about that job? And then why did I leave? And so I had healthy things, right. The whole paper filled out for all of the jobs. And then I got to being an artist, and what do I love about this job? And I was like, blinking. Nothing was coming into my brain. I'm like, wow, I don't right now like anything about being an artist.
Oh gosh.
But I had filled all the other ones out, and I was able to see the common thread. And I'm like, well, what was missing for me was community. It was being on a team. It was being part of big projects.
Right.
It was being with other like-minded people. And I thought, because I had written it out about the other jobs, I was like, well, I can do that in art. I just haven't been. And then it started coming. I looked at the experiences that I had in my art career where I'd had those things and how much joy they had brought to me.
Right.
And I thought, okay, well, I just need to do it differently. I need to do it not the way that everybody's been telling me to do it or the way that I thought I needed to do it to be a successful artist. And I need to refocus on how can I be an artist in a way that I'm also building community and I'm working on big projects and all this kind of stuff. And as soon as I had that mental shift, within a week, I got a call about this big mural project of this huge home renovation where it was an interior designer that I'd worked with many times before, Theresa Martorana. She's fantastic. She and I are very aligned. We resonate. The person whose home they were renovating, high vibe, amazing person. And the three of us together just got in this creative flow of then me making art completely out of my comfort zone, murals that I'd never tried before, but I said yes and just showed up and did it. And
when you get out of your own way.
And it's like, again, a niche rhymes with quiche, and quiche belongs in France. I was trying to niche down into a place where I was boxing myself in. Yeah. And I'm the one who's boxing myself in.
Yep.
And when I was ready to let that go,
yourself either.
And I was comparing myself to everybody else. Social media is, we can
I think that
talk about that.
Yeah. But I think that is such an issue now. Before it was not as much, but the social media comparison is just destroying people. They can't even create anything authentic anymore. It's very difficult to create something authentic in what is the social media echo chamber because you're imitating, copy paste, and it's not working anymore.
Yeah.
And now you have people that are just blobs of jello. Yeah. To describe them.
And also they're choosing to be blobs of jello.
Right.
I mean, we choose that. It's a choice. And it's interesting. I would love, when we're talking about social media, I would love to be creatively rebellious and find a new way to show up in the world. I mean, I've been off of social media multiple times as an artist and my art career went on. Because
life still happens.
Because then I went out and actually made connections with people.
It's really hard for me to make connections with people because I love people. But to physically go commit to community networking or going out to the things like the get up and go is hard for me. That part's a little hard for me because I'm like, I'll make every excuse not to go.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you mean like to a social networking situation?
Yes, in person, anything.
But what happens when you just follow your own inner guidance and do something like I did, which was, I'm going to message this woman. I have no idea who she is.
Then it works. Then it's fine.
But she seems cool, and maybe we can work together. And here we are.
Those kind of alignments, I love. Those kind of things, I love. But the force, like, okay, I got to go to group. We're doing this, or it's happening there. Then I feel. I don't know. It doesn't work for me. Social media I don't post a lot of my personal self. I've been trying to on TikTok, and I'm not very good at TikTok because I think I'm too old to be on TikTok. Again, comparison, but I tend to, people are like, I'm like, I don't know what these people want to see. And then I also believe that, is it a matrix and it's not real and all that shit's fake? Like, I get into my head about social media a lot.
I think the thing about social media in the context of our conversations is if I know for me, and I think this is true for you, I am always trying to come back in alignment with my own truth, right? How can I show up authentically in a way that is truthful to me?
Right.
And I have two values that I will take with me to my grave. You can strip everything else out of my life, throw me in a jail cell and say, you're in here for the rest of your life. And you can take two things with you. What are they going to be? Sorry, Pete, but I'm taking my integrity and my intuition. That's it. Those two things are so important to me that I would leave everything else behind.
For sure.
And I don't sacrifice those two things.
Yeah.
So when it comes to social media, I see so much that is against intuition. I see, because the algorithm is not intuitive. It's game. It's so that you will get to stay on the platform.
It's all fake. It's all bullshit.
And it's so much that's out of integrity with so many platforms and how they work. So I feel that I cannot authentically show up on social media
they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it.
So for me, it's like, well, then if I can't authentically show up,
I agree
then why am I there?
Right.
That's me, and everybody else is different.
I try to be authentic, like on my TikToks. I'm like, okay, like, and I try to lean it towards the fashion stuff because I see all the other stylists doing it and I want to be one of the cool kids. And so I try, you know what, I'm trying here.
But here's the thing I'm going to push you on though, because what I understood when you told me about being on TikTok is that you got on there for personal growth because you had been uncomfortable showing up on camera as yourself and with your outfits. And so you challenged yourself to do a daily outfit thing on TikTok.
I did.
That's a different energy than like, I'm going to try to be, that's like, I want to grow and I want to get more comfortable in my own skin. So
I think the kick was that I saw all these stylists and these fashion people and I was like, okay, I guess this is what they do. Like how you said, I guess this is what you do is you make prints and sell them, you know? And so I was like, I guess this is what you do. And I have never, ever been the person that wanted to be seen. And I always wanted to be kind of like the background, behind a camera, backstage. Not in front of the camera. This is uncomfortable for me.
I was getting ready to ask you.
Yeah, this is very uncomfortable for me because I'm going to be seen by lots of people. Yeah. Because our podcast is going to be very successful.
We ride it, Dawn.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. That is the energy. And that's the energy I'm bringing.
That's right.
So even though I'm embarrassed and even though I feel uncomfortable, I'm still going to do it. I still need to show up.
Yeah.
Because again, like how you the niche quiche France quote, I think in my head a lot of times it's not for forever, it's just for right now. Who fucking cares? Like I say that to myself repeatedly, even when I'm in like hard situations like that tour and it was snowing and we're out in the cold and I can't move and I can't feel my feet and I'm loading trucks and I'm trying to get like, it's not for forever, it's just for right now. Just get through it.
Right.
Just get through it. So I say that one a lot. And that's kind of what this was. It was like, well, I guess we're going to do it. And I just had a thought. I was like, I just want to do a podcast and I think we have a lot to say.
It's really interesting because before you told me that you wanted to do a podcast, that week before we had that coffee meeting, I was like, man, I'm really ready to do a podcast again. I had a podcast years ago called I'm Into It. You know, I'm intuitive and I took it down off all the platforms, but I was thinking to myself, I'm sick of sending emails. Yeah. Like I'm a writer too. And I was sending like weekly emails to my email community and all this. And I had these things I just had to write them and send them. And then one day I was like, I'm done. I don't want to write emails.
I've said everything I need to say.
I just don't want to throw shit into the void anymore. Right. Like
that's what it feels like. It just feels like, why am I doing it and that is the question. Like, am I doing it for them? Am I doing it for me?
Right.
And I only want to do things that, again, I'm not trying to be selfish, but I'm not doing things that don't bring me joy anymore.
Right.
I'm just not going to do that.
I mean, that's its own form of creative rebellion, to be honest with you.
It truly is.
Because the way society has worked up until this point, I think it's changing, but the way it's worked up to this point is I'm going to do things to make a living. I'm going to do things to get status. I'm going to do things because I can get something material out of it, rather than I'm going to do these things simply because they bring me joy.
And I'm aligned with them.
Because
that's the other, I think,
that's the true, like,
and all of the
creative rebel flex, right?
It truly is.
When you take all of this, like, I'm going against the machine, or I'm breaking out of breaking the mold, whatever, you take all of that out of it. The true creative rebel in my mind is, again, we're coming back to, am I brave enough to follow my own truth?
Yeah.
When everybody else is over here, am I brave enough to turn this way because it's truthful for me?
And will I do it if no one sees it?
And that's an internal battle.
Yeah.
That's an internal rebellion, right?
Absolutely.
Like it is a constant, like I am always constantly like checking myself. Is this truthful for me?
Right.
Am I doing the things?
I kind of know it. Like I know when I'm when I'm like full of shit, I'm like, come on, like you're totally full of shit right now. Like, I know it a lot of times.
But it does take practice. I think if anybody's listening and they're like, man, I want to follow my truth, but I don't know how, I would say just take the next best step and keep practicing that over and over again. And eventually it becomes second nature. Right?
I have another question for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Is authenticity discovered or remembered?
Remembered.
Explain.
So I love this idea of we're born into the world knowing everything we need to know, and then we forget. or we're taught differently.
Do you believe we sign a contract where like, this is the experience we want to have? Like we're at Dollywood and you're getting on a ride and you're like, I choose that ride. And then you get on.
So, okay. So there's two things here. There's the very woo woo, like, do we have soul contracts, aspect that you're talking about. And then there's the human experience of, we're born into a family and that family already has well-established beliefs and rules and systems. And I think as a child, we're born with a certain personality and a certain way of being, and then we learn how to be like our family to fit in. And so if you choose to, I hate it when people, I don't hate, I prefer when people say, I'm always reinventing myself. I'm not reinventing shit. I'm remembering myself.
Those pieces.
Yeah. I started art. I started my entire art career because I needed to bring joy back in my life. And I remembered that when I was a kid, I painted all the time.
Yeah.
So I knew something then that I lost along the way.
So you just kind of like tapped in and was
so I just said, I used to love painting. I painted, I sewed, I did all these creative projects with my hands when I was a kid, but I didn't think that was a valid career because I thought my parents told me, you're so smart, you're going to be a doctor. I'm like, okay, cool. So I just went down that path and I loved that path and it served me well. But when you say, are you remembering or are you discovering? I'm going to say remember.
Remember.
Now there's discovery in the remembering. But I feel like I'm always like, as a kid, we knew it, you know?
That's the thing. I think you have to just go back to unfiltered, unadulterated, it's just pure. And when you're a kid, you kind of can have that. And I think you do need to like tap into that and remember it. Right. Okay. Second question. Can rebellion be quiet?
Oh, 100%. Are you in my head? You can't hear it. It's very noisy.
so noisy in there. Okay. Because sometimes I think that society thinks rebellion needs to be like this rewrite at dawn situation where we're like just gung ho and in your face and punk rock. And that's rebellion to me, but also that quiet, like I made a decision and I'm shifting and all of you over here can go fuck yourself and I'm going to do this. Like, I feel like it can be quiet.
Yeah. And I also too think like silence many times speaks way louder than words.
Yeah.
And I
had to learn that.
Yeah, I bet you did. Honestly, I had to learn that too because I have this like justice streak that runs through me that when I see something as unjust, either for myself or for other people, like I am like,
I'll spray paint your car.
Yeah, I won't do that, but I will. I have punched holes in walls before.
But you know what I mean? It's going to happen if I feel someone is being mistreated.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that a little bit. It may have physically shown up in different ways in my life, but yeah, I think a silent revolution, a silent rebellion, can be just as powerful.
Yeah.
And also too, when we're talking about the spiritual world, like a lot of the, and this is again a whole nother podcast, but so much of what the shamanic practice happens literally beyond the scene, right? There's this whole aspect, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but there's this whole aspect of shamanism called psychopomp, where shamans will help cross spirits over. And there's so much work that's happening on a spiritual level right now that is in the quiet spaces.
It is.
That nobody sees.
I
know so many spiritual people who are working every day to help shift humanity into a higher level. And I
asked that question because I know that it's happening. I just was curious.
It is happening. Yeah. Peace circles, drum circles. Nobody knows that it's happening. Yeah. But it is happening.
I also feel like the noise, the loudest people in the room and the noise are the ones that are doing the least amount of rebelling. Like it's distraction and loud.
Well, because that's rebellion as like a...
it's a show.
It's like as a tag. It's like it's like, who am I? I'm a rebel. Look at me rebel.
Right.
It's not...
It's become quieter now for the rebels to be a little quieter.
Yeah. And I think...
more intention.
The concept of rebelling or of going against the grain or of, really is you're going against or... you're following your truth.
Yeah.
Pete has said multiple times, like, I don't ever want to be running away from something. I always want to be running towards something, right? Like, I don't ever want to be fighting against something. I want to be moving toward a more truthful way of being.
And I think that is a huge distinction.
It's a huge distinction.
Because it can be both things can be true. You can be a rebel running towards something. You can be a rebel running away from
just
something.
a rebel running.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty much.
And I've experienced both in my life, personally, professionally, all of these things. So, I love this concept of the different facets and layers of being a creative rebel.
Yeah. I love it. I think, like I said, I hope that this resonates with people and that we can kind of be cheerleaders for the creative rebels out there and how it doesn't have to be loud. It can be quiet, and we can, if you feel it, go do it.
If you feel it, go do it.
Yeah. Even if it's just voices in your head.
What's your favorite, as we wrap this discussion of being a creative rebel up, what if you had a soundtrack for your life as a creative rebel? What would that? My God. I mean, maybe just what band, what song? Honestly, your story about the song that saved you is pretty.
Yeah, the Suicidal Tendencies. Those were the guys that I heard them and I couldn't. I had a visceral reaction to it. It made me want to burn down my house. In the best way.
This was the song that somebody played for you when you were a kid, sneaking out of the cult, to go and listen to, because you weren't allowed to listen to music. Back in our day,
we had records.
Right.
And we were able to listen to them at the record store.
Which is right next to the Radio Shack.
It was. Did you live in my neighborhood? It literally was right next to the Radio Shack. And so I would go there and I would listen to all the bands like TSOL and Suicidal and Dead Kennedys. And my mind was blown wide open. And
because you couldn't listen to music in the cult, there was no music.
It was Jehovah music. Hymns and whatnot.
Nothing against religious music, man. I don't want to diss anybody.
I'm not going to diss on anybody because it's music, and it did heal.
Serve a purpose.
Yeah, it did heal. So, but this was a different kind of healing. This ripped me open, and I bled all over the place, and then it turned it into warm soup and put it back inside my body.
Yeah,
it was something that just felt okay, this is good. But in 2013. I got the opportunity to work with Suicidal Tendencies, and again, bled out, turned it into soup, stuck it back in my body. It was warm fuzzy, and I couldn't.
You came full circle.
Completely.
And you got to tell the leader of the band,
Mike,
that his music,
full blown,
saved you.
Oh, yeah. And it's so crazy. So this was the other thing that I learned about him. He is a straight edge. So he had never drank, he had never done drugs, he had never smoked, he had never done all the things that his music really feels like if you listen to it, right? Yeah. It's the it's the smoking and the and I would get lit up listening to his songs, you know what I mean? And to find out you're what? Where did this come from? Again, back to that, it was in him, and it didn't have to be traumatic,
right? And
trauma-filled and full of drugs and alcohol. It didn't.
Yeah.
He made something that I connected to so purely,
right?
And it wasn't from trauma.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's when I think one of the first times where I was like, whoa, wait. There's something to this.
Yeah.
There's something to this.
Yeah.
So, but that is truly, he literally saved my life. Because if I had stayed in that religion, I would have killed myself.
Yeah. I
would have hung myself or drove myself off a bridge.
Isn't that crazy? Suicidal tendencies was the thing that saved you from killing yourself? From
suicidal tendencies.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So crazy. What about you?
As far as a soundtrack to my life goes, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to match that musically, but what's coming to mind as far as being a creative rebel and just the word rebel in general is this one patient that I had, and her name was Maria. And she was 16 years old, living in a Nazi occupied town in Holland.
What?
And the Nazis came to her town, and her dad made mattresses for her. So fast forward, she's, well into her late 80s, early 90s, and she's a patient of mine, a cardiology patient.
Wow.
When she was born in Holland, I think it was, and she, her dad made mattresses in their tiny little village, and then he would make these mattresses, and they would pile them onto a truck, and they would take them across the bridge to get to the larger city, where he would then sell them to different places. So the Nazis took over the bridge. And all of these people in her little village, a lot of them were Jews. And so the Nazis were coming around and preventing any supplies from getting into her
trying
village.
to
Starve them out. So what Maria did, and she told me the story, I'm like, I felt like I was sitting here in a history book. I can't believe I'm sitting here with someone who actually lived during a Nazi occupation in Europe. But she said what she would do is that she would go into town with her dad wearing a long coat, and they would drop off the mattresses, and she would stuff her coat with carrots and potatoes. And then when they came back across the bridge back to their village at the end of the day with the empty cart, and her coat would be stuffed with carrots and potatoes, and she would sneak past the Nazi guards and then go and feed her neighbors.
Wow.
At 16, knowing that if she had been caught,
Dead,
they would have killed her. And so I think when you talk about a quiet rebellion, that's a quiet smuggling carrots. I wrote a whole blog post about it. It's great. It's called like How to Take Down a Nazi. It's not by yelling and screaming. Rebellion. It's by smuggling carrots. Yeah. The quiet rebellion.
Oh my God.
So that's kind of like, I get chills thinking about, she was just a fantastic human being, but
wow.
I get chills thinking about her.
So if that was a movie, what would the background music be? What would the soundtrack be?
Suicidal Tendencies.
Fuck yes, it would. We ride it, Don. We ride it. Just like quietly.
Just but quietly with carrots in our pockets. Oh man, that's awesome. Very cool. All right, well, this has been an awesome conversation.
Love it.
And like go out there and be a creative rebel in your own way. Like what feels good to you.
Quit imitating people.
Yeah, be your own authentic self. Find your truth. It's not like it's so easy.
Stop
It's like find your
yourself.
truth.
Stop
find your truth.
Yourself.
Find your truth. It's not as easy as you think it might be, but just like one step at a time.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And on our next episode, we're going to cover
vintage soul, right? Is it
vintage
next soul?
Yeah, vintage souls.
Vintage versus fast fashion.
Fast
and
anything.
Like, I like you say vintage.
Take your time.
Take your
time.
Take your time. Thank you guys so much for being with us today. I'm Peyton.
I'm Leah.
This is Beyond the Scene.